Greetings from Costa Rica and welcome to my Friday broadcast. It's November 7th, and today I want to talk about the real estate trends currently happening in Guanacaste that are going to shape our market going into 2026. Today, I'll give a brief overview of where things stand today and sort of the market history that has brought us to this point. I'll then give 5 trends that have been developing here in Guanacaste that will shape the future. And we'll also take a very brief look at one of my favorite current real estate listings in my market to always bring in just a little bit of property for your general interest. Thank you very much for joining me today. If you're out there and you have a question, comment, concern, don't hesitate to post it in the live chat. I'm always happy to completely veer off topic and answer something. Or if you're watching this on the recorded stream, don't hesitate to add that question to the comments, and I'll be happy to either address it in a future broadcast or directly on the comments themselves. Of course, my name is Matt Rosenstiel. I've lived and worked in Guanacaste, Costa Rica since 2008. Originally came down as a Peace Corps volunteer, and I'm now broker owner of Coldwell Banker Pacific Realty. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can email me at matt@costaricamat.com. Very easy email address to remember. If you're out there looking for a complete video guide to Costa Rica real estate and some of the most important questions affecting buyers and sellers alike, you can also visit costaricamat.com and smash that blue free VBook button, and I'll be happy to send you one of millions of free digital copies of my VBook, which is a 20-plus chapter resource for all of those basic real estate questions for investing here in Costa Rica. Before I get started, I do, as always, want to thank my clients, the people who decide to reach out to me and either buy or sell real estate. This particular week, I'm grateful to Terry and Jessica. It's been absolutely wonderful working with you so far. And as we approach a new property, I'm looking forward to helping you lock that in. And as one last reminder, I do serve a stretch of the Guanacaste coastline that extends from Playa Potrero in the north all the way down to Playa Junquial, where I'm seated today. So if you have questions about Avellanas, Playa Negra, Tamarindo, Langosta, Grande, Flamingo, or Potrero, don't hesitate to reach out to me again at matt@costaricamat.com. Let's get on with it and talk about our topic of the day, Costa Rica real estate in 26. Obviously, we've just come out of a major post-pandemic boom in the real estate market. And when I talk about the Costa Rica real estate market, yes, I am referring largely to the market involving foreigners buying or selling real estate here, and especially, our large number of US, Canadian, European investors who come to Costa Rica. The 5 trends that I think are going to really shape the market as we go into 2026, in one form or another, are all a result of the historic market and how we got to this point to begin with. So I want to quickly just give a review as to where we stand as of November 25 to put this all in context a little bit. And for this, I'm going to bring up an entirely subjective, made-up graph to give you all an idea of what I'm talking about here and sort of how I would think of the Costa Rica real estate market historically. If we go back to 2000, when really this area in Costa Rica, Guanacaste, started getting international flights into the Liberia International Airport, and really Costa Rica started taking off as a location for people to relocate, you can see that the market steadily increased and really started to take off prior to 2008 and 9. There was an absolute frenzy in the years between 2006 and 2008, 2009, where you saw people investing as quickly as they could. In Guanacaste, you had projects started Every day, there were millions of for sale signs everywhere. You had investors wiring money to people they had never met before, desperately trying to get a piece of land so that they could cut it up, resell it, and make a huge profit. Well, obviously, in 2009 and 10, due to the global financial crisis, the market here took an absolutely huge hit. And between the next, 8 or 9 years from 2011 until 2019, you had steady growth again, but really it was all just a recovery, as you can see on the graph over here, which is again entirely subjective and not supported by real numbers there. Now, obviously, the pandemic in 2020 was another substantial hit to our real estate market. You had the borders closed to get into Costa Rica from March through November of 2020. But as soon as the borders reopened in late 2020, through 21, 2, and 3, you had yet another frenzy, really, as everybody reacted to COVID-19. You saw revenge travel. A different microphone. Hopefully you all can hear me again. I am sorry for that interruption in the audio. I appreciate all of my viewers out there chiming in to tell me. Hopefully this microphone stays on, and let me know if that happens again. So anyhow, hopefully I'm back now and everybody can hear me. Hopefully you didn't lose too much of that analysis as to where we are currently. We had frenzy years again in 22 and 23, and now we are back to a market that is moving towards a balance. Again, let me know if it comes out again, and I'll be sure to switch microphones yet again. So in 2025, you're still not seeing sellers dramatically reduce their prices, even though that momentum from 22 and 23 has died back. Instead, remember, sellers here own their properties outright in cash. Many of them are making money off their properties through AirBNB or just rentals in general. And as a result, people don't have mortgages or that real fierce incentive to bring down their price and try and sell quickly. Instead, they invested their cash in a property here in Costa Rica, and they hope to get out that same level of cash when they sell. So here are 5 of the trends that I feel are really going to affect the market going forward. First and foremost, in response to that 2022 and 23 frenzy, you saw a heck of a lot of developers open up new efforts, start moving forward with projects here in Guanacaste and throughout Costa Rica. And whereas after 2010, you saw almost no new projects launched until really 2019, now we've had a lot of new options come onto the market. In Avellanas, as one example, I can cite New Mandi, Ave Moana, Alma. There's Black Coast Estates just south of there in Playa Negra. Those are 4 communities that didn't exist in 21, 2, or 3, and that's a very limited geographic area. If we were to look further north towards Villarreal and Huacas, the area outside of Tamarindo, you've had the Flora project, you've had the Baulas Sunset Community, a number of other developments that are now offering lots or home packages. And so overall, you've had a substantial increase in the number of options available to foreigners buying in this area. And whereas prior to the pandemic, those options, yes, they were very limited. That definitely had the effect of driving up prices crazily for those limited options. Now, with more inventory on the market, you're going to have one factor that is significantly helping buyers who are choosing to move to this area because, yeah, they're going to have almost twice the number of potential gated communities if that's what they're looking for. So definitely the rise in inventory is there. And whereas you previously had a lot of people trying to get into a very limited number of gated communities, that is going to change here over the next year or so. Second of all, that 2021 through 2023 surge in investment is inevitably going to result in a surge in sellers due to the typical churn of Costa Rica foreigners moving to Costa Rica. If you've watched other Costa Rica videos, you've always seen that the average lifespan of a US or Canadian buyer down here in Costa Rica, the amount of time that they actually live here can often be limited to just 2-3 years. I won't deny that whatsoever. A lot of the people who move to Costa Rica, really, for one reason or another, they are unhappy with their investment a couple years later. I would personally suggest that the top reason that this happens is that they didn't really love what Costa Rica, the positive things that it has to offer in the first place. In many cases, and especially after the pandemic, you have people moving down here because of their negative views of something else. And because we had that absolute quick frenzy following the pandemic, you've now got a lot of people who came down. They were excited to be able to go outdoors again. They wanted to be in public places. They thought this would be an absolute free place without those restrictions. A lot of them 3 years later are turning around and starting to sell their properties. And that will be another pressure, another force that's creating more options for buyers and really balancing out the inventory. Whereas during the pandemic, really, we had a lack of listings on the market. Number three, and this is an issue I hope to cover in a broadcast soon, potentially with a lawyer joining me to explain all of the nuances. But Airbnb rules are getting very tough here in Costa Rica. You are now going to have an operating permit to legally have an Airbnb. The taxes that they are already legally collecting on Airbnb platforms and actually any short-term rental platforms, those taxes are going to be strictly enforced by basically a mechanism where all of the platforms operating in Costa Rica are going to give their lists of rental properties to local municipalities. And you're going to have basically the municipalities comparing who's paid taxes versus who is on those platforms. And you're going to have taxes enforced that, frankly, a lot of people are currently maneuvering around legally or illegally currently. And that enforcement is going to be a big pain, along with all of the other certifications that you're going to have. That operating permit was just one of several items that Airbnb properties are going to have. So overall, Costa Rica as an ideal destination to buy a property for Airbnb purposes, that's also going to be a negative factor motivating people to invest elsewhere, or it's going to be one less reason that people decide that this is the right investment for them. Before we get to number four, I wanted to take a quick look at one of my favorite listings on the market currently. Let's look at a beachfront condo in Las Brisas, just down the road from me. I've had this on my channel before, but really want to emphasize, if you're out there and looking for a beachfront, really a true beachfront condo in Costa Rica, Las Brisas is one of very few projects where you walk from your condo directly out to the sand. We have number 6 listed at Las Brisas for $460,000. It could use some upgrades. It's definitely a condo where you could remodel inside, but overall, the experience of walking from a condo directly out to the Pacific Ocean is very rare here in Costa Rica. This unit would rent well, but overall, it's one of my favorite listings because when people visit and they walk to the beach, It's an extremely special experience. And again, Las Brisas aquí, or Las Brisas del Mar, is one of few titled beachfront projects in Costa Rica. So if you want to find out more about Las Brisas 6, do be sure to send me an email. Next, I want to talk about the fact that 2026 is a midterm election in the United States. And while I never comment on politics, and as a realtor, I have no political opinion, every time we see an election cycle, it's another reason that people decide to pause rather than taking that leap and investing in Costa Rica. And I would say that, yeah, given everything that's happening in the United States, I feel a lot of people are going to be looking at November 2026 as sort of an indicator as to what they plan to do, whether it is take that plunge and get a property in a foreign country, or whether they decide, no, I want to stay in the US or keep my capital here. And we always see a lot of people waiting on the sidelines for election years. So I could see very much that in 2026, that would also be a reason a lot of buyers are pausing and waiting, holding their cash to see that election result rather than coming down here and making the investment. Finally, the absolute most critical factor that is going to shape our market in 2026, I've said it before, and if you've watched, you will know that the US economy and its health are going to be the determining factor as to whether or not you see continued strength and solid sales momentum here in Guanacaste, or if you see a hiccup or something worse. Presently, the US government isn't publishing all of the data that they typically do, so it's even more difficult to get a feeling for where things are headed. I will do a prediction video towards the end of 2025 as to where I think the Costa Rica real estate market will actually go in 2026. For now, all I can say is that it's an absolute balance between those emotional drivers where people feel concerned or they just don't like what's happening in their home country versus their pocketbook and their ability to take that plunge. There are very alarming statistics from the US housing market where you see that, yes, one interesting note that we shared at our real estate conference was that 70% of US realtors have not made a single sale within the last calendar year. There's a lot of other data that suggests things are problematic with the housing market there. And that always is going to have a direct impact on the number of people who are able to invest in Costa Rica, because so many are waiting to sell their US home, to cash out their equity, and to be able to invest those funds down here in Costa Rica. You meet far fewer people who are willing to leave their home on the market, wait until it sells, and then invest that 401k or their stock earnings, any sort of liquid investment that they have. Most often people want to liquidate their home in the US. And if the housing market up there continues to deteriorate, if you see major problems up there, then that's another factor that will significantly lower our buying pool down here in Costa Rica. Again, I will be doing a predictions video towards 2025, towards December. I want to put that off as long as possible so that we can try and get some more data, have a feeling for where the economy is headed. But in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications bell so that you will see that video come across your radar. Thanks very much for everyone joining me today. Greatly appreciate you. Have a great weekend. Pura vida, and I will see you next time here on Costa Rica Matt.